Daniel Hartwell had always trusted precision. In business, in finance, and even in his daily routine, precision gave him control. At 39, he had built a thriving consulting empire from scratch, and he ran it with the same meticulous attention that once guided him through law school and his early career. Every hour in his calendar carried a purpose. Even his personal life had been reduced to a set of measured choices since becoming a single father to 5-year-old Lily. On this particular evening, Daniel was about to test a decision he already suspected might have been a mistake, agreeing to a blind date arranged by his assistant, Rebecca. She had insisted that her friend's sister was perfect for him, Catherine Morrison, a polished marketing executive who adored children. The description checked the right boxes. Someone successful, confident, used to corporate environments and allegedly good with kids. That had sounded practical enough. Daniel sat at a corner table in Riverside Café, a quiet upscale restaurant along the riverfront, the kind of place where conversations were never interrupted by blaring music or rowdy crowds. He adjusted his cufflinks while scanning the menu, waiting for the sleek professional woman he imagined Catherine to be. He pictured her arriving in a tailored blazer dress, perhaps carrying herself with the kind of poise he saw daily in boardrooms. Instead, when a nervous young woman approached his table, Daniel nearly questioned whether she was lost. She wore a faded blue dress, neatly pressed but clearly aged. A worn leather purse hung from her arm, and her posture suggested unease, as though she was more accustomed to slipping unnoticed into the background than taking center stage. "Excuse me," she said softly, her voice almost drowned by the low hum of conversation around them. Are you Daniel Hartwell?" Daniel set down his glass of water, raising his eyes to meet hers. "I am," he replied. There was a flicker of confusion in his tone, not rudeness, just uncertainty. "And you are?" The young woman's cheeks turned a delicate pink. "I'm Emma Morrison. Catherine couldn't make it tonight, so she sent me instead." Daniel blinked, certain he'd misheard. "She sent you instead?" Emma nodded quickly, fumbling with the strap of her purse. "Yes. There was some emergency with a client, and she didn't want to cancel last minute. She thought it would be rude to leave you waiting." Her voice faltered as though she already regretted showing up. Her eyes darted toward the door, clearly measuring the chance of slipping out before this became more humiliating. For a long moment, Daniel studied her. She was young, perhaps mid-20s. Light brown hair pulled back in a plain ponytail, no dramatic makeup, no expensive jewelry. There was something apologetic in her hazel eyes, as though she carried the weight of always being second choice. Daniel could have dismissed her. He could have excused himself, called Rebecca later to complain about the awkward substitution, and ended the evening before it even began. But something in Emma's nervous sincerity stopped him. "Please sit," he said gently, motioning to the chair across from him. Emma hesitated, clearly conflicted. "Mr. Hartwell, I don't want to waste your time. Catherine is the one you agreed to meet. I'm just filling in." Daniel gave the faintest smile. "Maybe so. But you're here now, which tells me something. It takes courage to show up for your sister's blind date." Emma lowered herself into the chair cautiously, still perched at the edge as if she might bolt. "It wasn't brave," she admitted. "It felt more like obligation. Catherine thought someone should keep the appointment. And since I was free," her words trailed off into an awkward silence. Daniel folded his hands, studying her with growing curiosity. "Tell me, Emma Morrison, what do you do when you're not standing in for your sister?" Her laugh was small, almost defensive. "Nothing glamorous. I work at a daycare downtown. I spend my days with toddlers and preschoolers whose parents work long hours. It's enough to pay rent and groceries mostly." There was no attempt to polish her image, no self-promotion. Just plain truth. In a world where most people Daniel met worked tirelessly to craft an impressive facade, Emma seemed determined to do the opposite. "Do you enjoy it?" Daniel asked. For the first time, Emma's face lit with genuine warmth. "I love it, actually. Kids are amazing. They're so honest and creative, so full of hope. Even when life is hard for them, they still find reasons to laugh and dream. They teach me something new every day." Daniel felt a tug at his chest. "I have a daughter, Lily. She's 5. Tonight she's probably convincing her babysitter to let her stay up past bedtime." Emma's smile widened, her expression softening. 5 is wonderful. They're old enough to have real conversations but still believe in magic. What's she like? Daniel found himself unexpectedly eager to answer. He spoke of Lily's tea parties with stuffed animals, her insistence that vegetables should come in different colors to taste better, and her attempt to teach their dog to read. With each story, Emma leaned forward slightly, her eyes shining, as though Lily's mischief delighted her as much as it did him. She sounds delightful, Emma said sincerely. And it sounds like you're a wonderful father. That's rare. There was something in her tone, a shadow hinting at personal history, though Daniel didn't press. Instead he asked her about her work at the daycare. Her stories flowed easily then, children whose parents worked double shifts, creative ways to make them feel safe and valued, small triumphs that made hard days worth it. Her voice carried quiet passion. There's a boy named Marcus, she told him. When he first came he hardly spoke. His mom works 2 jobs so he spends almost every day with us. Last week a new girl came in crying. He gave her his favorite crayon and told her that yellow was the color of sunshine, and sunshine always makes things better. Daniel sat back, unexpectedly moved. He had entered the evening expecting polished resumes and witty banter, but instead he found himself listening to stories of crayons and children. Yet somehow this felt more real, more important than all the boardroom conversations he'd endured. After a thoughtful pause he leaned forward. Emma, why did Catherine really send you tonight? The brightness faded from Emma's eyes, replaced by hesitation. She twisted a silver ring nervously. The truth? Catherine saw your photo. She thought you looked too successful, too confident, too intimidating. She panicked. She said maybe if I went first, it would make her less nervous about meeting you later. Like a practice run. Daniel stared, momentarily speechless. A practice run. His chest tightened with frustration, not at Emma, but at the casual cruelty of being asked to play decoy for her sister's fears. And you agreed? He asked gently. Emma gave a small shrug. She helped pay for my community college tuition once. I owe her. Besides, she gave a self-deprecating smile. It's not like I had exciting plans tonight. Daniel looked at her, really looked at her. Here sat a woman who had come only to fill an obligation, yet in the space of an hour she had revealed more authenticity and compassion than he'd seen in months. He chose his words carefully. Emma, what if I told you I'm not interested in meeting Catherine? Her eyes widened in shock, her lips parting but no words coming out. The assumption she carried, that she wasn't enough, was written all over her expression. And in that moment, Daniel realized this evening was about to become far more unexpected than anything he had planned. Emma blinked rapidly, certain she had misunderstood. You're not interested in Catherine? Her voice wavered between disbelief and confusion. Daniel leaned back in his chair, his gaze steady. I'm saying that in the past hour I've gotten to know you, Emma. You've told me stories that matter. You've shown me authenticity. That's worth more than polished small talk from someone trying to impress. Emma shook her head quickly. No, you don't understand. Catherine is beautiful, successful, sophisticated. She knows how to carry herself in front of people like you. I work at a daycare. I live in a tiny studio apartment. I drive a car that stalls more often than it runs. I'm not the kind of woman a man like you would ever seriously consider. Her words came out in a rush, as though she'd rehearsed them many times in her mind. Daniel's jaw tightened. Emma, what do you think a man like me wants? She didn't hesitate. Success. Status. Someone who can hold their own at charity galas or business dinners. Someone who won't embarrass you in front of important people. Daniel felt his chest constrict, not with anger at her but with sorrow for what she believed about herself. How many times had life taught her that worth could only be measured by external success? Emma, he said softly, would you like to know what I actually want? She hesitated, her fingers twisting that silver ring again, then gave the faintest nod. I want someone who understands that the most important conversations don't happen in boardrooms. They happen at bedtime, over storybooks and stuffed animals. I want someone who believes children deserve respect, not as distractions but as whole people with their own magic. I want someone genuine enough to walk into an uncomfortable situation and still be honest about why she's here. That's what I want. Emma's eyes glistened, her disbelief plain. You don't mean that. I do, Daniel said firmly. Emma, would you let me take you and Lily to the Children's Museum this weekend? Not as Catherine's stand-in. Not as a favor. But because I want to spend time with you. The offer seemed to unravel her composure. Emma looked around the café as though she might find a hidden camera capturing her humiliation. Why would you choose me when you could have Catherine? She whispered. Daniel reached across the table, taking her trembling hand gently in his. Because in one evening, you've shown me more heart than most people show in years. Because when you talk about children, you light up in a way that tells me who you are. And because when I think of introducing someone new to Lily, I want her to meet someone who understands that a crayon can be the most powerful gift in the world. Emma bit her lip, overwhelmed. Tears hovered in her hazel eyes, though she blinked them back quickly. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything yet, Daniel replied. Just think about it. The rest of their dinner passed more quietly. Emma relaxed only in small increments, her guarded walls slipping bit by bit as Daniel asked her more about the daycare, her students, and her own hopes. She admitted she'd always dreamed of studying further, maybe starting her own preschool someday, but life had narrowed her choices. It's hard to dream when bills come first, she murmured. Daniel listened intently, not offering solutions, just giving her the respect of being heard. And Emma in return asked about Lily, not about Daniel's empire or his achievements, but about the little girl at the center of his world. By the end of the meal, Daniel found himself unexpectedly reluctant to let the evening end. He walked Emma to the door, the night air cool against the river. She clutched her purse strap tightly, clearly ready to retreat into her safe solitude. Emma, he said quietly, thank you for tonight. She gave a startled laugh. You're thanking me? For what? For being the wrong sister at the wrong date. No, Daniel said firmly. For being exactly who you are. For a heartbeat, she held his gaze, then looked away, cheeks flushed. Good night, Mr. Hartwell. Daniel, he corrected gently. Please call me Daniel. She nodded faintly before slipping into the night, leaving Daniel standing there with the unmistakable sense that something rare had just entered his life. The following days were a test of patience. Daniel busied himself with meetings, projects, and the steady hum of responsibility, but Emma lingered in his thoughts. He found himself recalling her laughter when she described Marcus sharing his crayon, or the way her eyes lit when he talked about Lily's antics. By Friday he decided he wouldn't leave it to chance. He called her, his voice steady though his heart raced more than during any boardroom negotiation. Emma, it's Daniel. I was wondering if you'd considered my invitation to the museum. There was a pause on the line, filled with the faint background noise of children's voices. I don't think it's a good idea, she said quietly. Your world and mine are so different. Daniel's voice softened. Emma, Lily's world and yours aren't so different. She loves crayons too. She believes in sunshine just like Marcus. That's what matters. There was silence, then the faintest sigh. All right. The museum then. That Saturday, Daniel brought Lily to the Children's Museum downtown. She skipped excitedly at his side, her small hand clutching his. When Emma appeared at the entrance, wearing a simple floral dress and nervous determination, Lily's eyes lit up immediately. You must be Emma. Lily chirped, her natural openness bridging what Emma's shyness could not. Daddy said you like kids. Do you want to come see the giant bubbles with me? Emma blinked, startled, then laughed softly. I'd love to. Within minutes, Lily had Emma holding a wand, both of them laughing as enormous soap bubbles floated through the air. Daniel watched from a step back, warmth swelling in his chest. Emma was not polished, not rehearsed, not trying to impress, and Lily adored her instantly. As the afternoon unfolded, the three of them explored exhibits, building towers of blocks, painting with watercolors, sitting cross-legged for a puppet show. Daniel saw Lily gravitate to Emma naturally, her small hand finding Emma's without hesitation. And Emma, though shy at first, relaxed under Lily's trust. At one point, Lily tugged Emma's hand. Come see the dinosaurs with me. Daddy talks too much when we look at them. Emma laughed, glancing at Daniel apologetically, but he only smiled. Go on. She's chosen her guide. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something he hadn't allowed himself to imagine, the possibility of a family beyond just him and Lily. When they finally parted ways, Lily was the one who spoke what Daniel had only dared to hope. Daddy, can Emma come again? Emma's cheeks flushed, but Daniel met her eyes steadily. Yes, he said softly. I hope she will. That evening, Emma sat in her small apartment, still holding the faint scent of Lily's bubble soap on her hands. She couldn't shake the feeling of belonging she'd experienced, fleeting, fragile, but real. And for the first time she wondered if maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as unworthy as she'd believed all her life. The weeks after the museum visit became a gentle unfolding of something neither Daniel nor Emma had expected. What began as a cautious experiment turned into a rhythm of shared moments. Daniel would call or text with simple invitations, a walk in the park, an afternoon at the zoo, dinner at a cozy family restaurant. Emma never accepted without hesitation, yet each time she did, she discovered how natural it felt to be around him and Lily. For Daniel the change was startling. He had spent years in circles where conversations revolved around quarterly earnings, industry trends, and who had managed to secure the most prestigious clients. With Emma, everything shifted. She spoke about the little things that often went unnoticed. A child's laughter echoing in a hallway, the way rain left sparkling beads on daycare windows, the excitement when one of her students mastered tying their shoelaces. Her world was unpolished, but it was full of meaning. One crisp Saturday morning, Daniel and Lily arrived at the daycare where Emma worked. The center was modest, brightly painted walls, shelves stacked with picture books, bins filled with well-used toys. Children tumbled across the play area, their shrieks of laughter filling the air. Emma greeted them warmly but with her usual humility. "I just thought it might be nice for you to see where I spend my days," she said. Lily's eyes widened with delight as she ran to join a group of children building block towers. Daniel followed Emma as she guided him through the small classrooms. He watched the way children clung to her hand, tugged at her skirt, and vied for her attention. She crouched to their level, listening with patient seriousness to their stories, treating each child as if they were the most important person in the room. "This is where you belong," Daniel murmured when a little boy proudly showed Emma his finger painting. Emma glanced at him, startled. "It's not much," she said softly. "Sometimes I wish I could do more for them. Better supplies, more space, more staff. But we make the best of what we have." Daniel studied her, seeing the quiet determination behind her modest words. "Emma, what you give them is far more than resources. You give them yourself. That's rare." Her cheeks flushed pink, and she quickly bent to help a little girl tie her shoelaces, hiding the emotion his words stirred. Their bond deepened in subtle ways. Daniel found himself sharing parts of his life he rarely revealed. He spoke of the years after Lily's mother left, of the long nights spent rocking an inconsolable baby, of the fear he carried about raising a daughter alone. Emma listened without judgment, her eyes full of quiet understanding. "You're not alone anymore," she said once, so softly that he almost missed it. Those words stayed with him. For Emma the change was more complicated. She had lived her life in the shadows of her older sister, always measuring herself against Catherine's accomplishments. Catherine was the one with the degree, the glamorous career, the confidence that dazzled people at parties. Emma had grown used to being the other sister, kind, dependable, but forgettable. Now, with Daniel, she found herself caught in a paradox. He was everything Catherine would have wanted, powerful, successful, admired. Yet he chose to spend time with Emma, who owned nothing but sincerity. At first she believed it was temporary, a kindness he would tire of. But as weeks stretched into months, his consistency chipped away at her doubts. One evening, Daniel invited Emma and Lily to his home for dinner. His house was spacious, modern, with large windows overlooking the city. Emma felt out of place the moment she stepped inside, her worn cardigan and scuffed shoes a glaring contrast against polished floors and elegant furnishings. But then Lily took her hand and dragged her toward the kitchen. "Emma, come see. Daddy made spaghetti, but I helped stir." Emma laughed, tension easing. "Then I'm sure it's the best spaghetti in the world." They ate together at the long oak table, Lily chattering happily between bites. Emma listened, responding with genuine interest to every tale. For Daniel, watching them was like witnessing a dream take shape. His daughter laughing freely, Emma smiling, the house echoing with warmth it hadn't known in years. After Lily was tucked into bed, Daniel and Emma lingered in the living room. He poured her a cup of tea, their conversation drifting from light-hearted topics to deeper truths. "You don't have to keep proving yourself to me," Daniel said at one point, catching the flicker of doubt in her expression. "Emma, you are enough. More than enough." Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "I've never felt like that before." "Then let me show you," Daniel replied, his voice steady with conviction. Yet the outside world wasn't as kind. When Catherine finally discovered the truth, her reaction was sharp. She cornered Emma one afternoon, her voice dripping with disbelief. "You? He's interested in you?" Catherine's laugh was short, bitter. "Emma, be serious. Daniel Hartwell is not going to build a life with someone who spends her days wiping noses at a daycare." Emma flinched at the words, old insecurities roaring back to life. She tried to defend herself, but Catherine's confidence overwhelmed her. Later that night she confided in Daniel. "She's right. You could have anyone. Why are you wasting your time with me?" Daniel's expression darkened. He took her hands firmly. "Don't ever let anyone, not even your sister, decide your worth. Emma, I'm not wasting my time. I'm choosing where to give it. And I choose you." His words settled deep in her heart, slowly rewriting the script she'd lived by for so long. By winter their connection was undeniable. Daniel marveled at Emma's patience with Lily, at the way she could turn the simplest moments into adventures. Lily adored her, asking constantly when Emma would visit again. For Emma, the affection both father and daughter showed her began to erode the fortress of doubt she had built. It was on a snowy evening, walking hand in hand after taking Lily ice skating, that Daniel finally voiced what had been growing in his heart. "Emma," he said, stopping beneath a street lamp, snowflakes catching in her hair. "I never imagined I'd find someone like you. But now that I have, I can't imagine my life without you." She looked up at him, her breath forming clouds in the cold air. "Daniel, I don't know if I'm ready for all that you deserve." He cupped her face gently. "Emma, what I deserve is exactly this. A family." For the first time she didn't argue. She simply leaned into his embrace, allowing herself to believe. That winter marked the beginning of something unshakable. Emma started night classes toward her bachelor's degree in early childhood development, encouraged by Daniel's unwavering support. He insisted she had the potential to build her own preschool one day, and slowly she began to believe him. Meanwhile, Daniel found himself changing too. He restructured his work schedule, prioritizing time with Lily and Emma. Success no longer meant another client one, but rather the evenings he spent helping Lily with homework or cheering Emma on in her studies. Together, they discovered that love wasn't about perfection or status. It was about showing up, about kindness, about choosing each other again and again. Spring arrived with a quiet promise of renewal. By then, Emma had grown more confident, balancing her classes with work at the daycare and evenings with Daniel and Lily. Her laughter came more easily, her posture less guarded. Where once she'd entered his life as a substitute, now she was part of its center. Daniel knew he didn't want to wait any longer. He wanted Emma by his side, not only as his partner but as Lily's family. Still, he wanted the moment to reflect the heart of who they were together. So one Saturday afternoon, during one of Lily's elaborate tea parties, Daniel found the perfect setting. The table was covered in mismatched cups and saucers, stuffed animals seated neatly in chairs, and Emma helping Lily pour invisible tea into tiny cups. "Daddy," Lily announced proudly, "today we're using the yellow crayon as the royal jewel." She held it up like a priceless treasure. Daniel smiled, his chest tightening with affection. "That's perfect," he said, reaching into his pocket where a small velvet box waited. He turned to Emma, who looked at him with curiosity, a cup of pretend tea halfway to her lips. "Emma," he began softly, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "When you walked into that café you thought you were just a substitute. But from that moment you've been so much more. You've brought joy to Lily, balance to me, and light into places I didn't know were dark. I don't want another day to pass without knowing you'll stay in our lives, not as Catherine's sister, not as a stand-in but as yourself." Emma's eyes widened, tears shimmering. Lily leaned forward eagerly, holding out the yellow crayon as though it were part of the ceremony. Daniel chuckled and accepted it before opening the velvet box to reveal a ring. "Emma Morrison, will you marry me?" For a heartbeat, Emma was overwhelmed, then she nodded, her smile breaking through tears. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000 times yes." Lily squealed with delight, clapping her hands. "I knew it. I knew you'd be my mommy." As laughter and joy filled the room, Daniel thought of that first awkward evening and the unexpected turn that changed everything. He realized then that the most extraordinary love stories don't come from careful planning, they come from the courage to see worth where no one else is looking. And this love, unexpected and unplanned, was the most beautiful of all.